I'm going to bring to your attention to something very fascinating and very interesting. You might remember in the video that I posted about a couple of weeks ago now. This is the video that I posted just about a couple of weeks ago. I said the exact date of Bitcoin's next big move. And in fact, I showed you two important date periods that was going to be important for Bitcoin. And I said Bitcoin's next big move, will likely happen on this date. What were those dates? I'll show you in a few moments. You see, guys, first of all, at the time I posted that video, here is what was happening. You see, at the time, Bitcoin was dropping, as you'll see there. It was dropping from the period between May to July. It was in a downward trend, as you'll see here. And it was approaching what we call time resistance. In other words, we had as you can see here from this red projection on my chart, this is the LT time power projection indicator, which we created about a year ago. And this was telling us that there's likely to be a big move on that day. In other words, during that period. The period, I'll tell you exactly when that was. By the way, pay attention to also this blue column that you see here on my chart. This blue column, I said, is going to also be important. So what were those important dates? And you can see this was in my video, that particular video I just showed you. And I showed you these two important dates, between the 15th to the 22nd of July. Actually, I gave you a more specific period, which was between the 17th and the 19th of July. And then I said, pay attention to also the 25th to the 27th of July as well. So two important date periods to pay attention to. And you will see, this was also in my video, you'll see on my 4-hour time frame, I showed you this particular projection, this time power projection that came through the 25th and 27th of July. Now remember, we knew about these dates in advance. We knew that these dates that I just mentioned were going to be relevant for Bitcoin before those events actually happened. All right, so there is actually a kind of a magical quality about this particular indicator, that it tells us these dates before they actually happen. Now, let me explain what happened. Firstly, the trader and expert behind time analysis is a lady by the name of Carolyn Borden. And here's what she says. She says, when we see trading parameters on both the time and price axis come together at the same time, so that's important, come together at the same time, we are looking at our highest probability, lowest risk trade setups in the marketplace. And then she continues, she says this, I find that when both the time and price parameters come together at the same time, the odds for a market reversal are much higher than usual. And that, by the way, is the key phrase right there, guys. Market reversal are much higher than usual when time and price resistance come together. And she says, when I see a group of timing cycles come together, I watch for a reversal of whatever the market is doing into those cycles, So let me just explain that. Let me just unpack what she just said. You see, guys, time resistance acts like a wall of resistance on price. So if we just go back to our chart just for a moment. So this is the chart that I showed you some weeks ago, before the rally even occurred. So before that major rally we saw on Bitcoin, I said, look, first of all, we got some time resistance coming through. And given the fact that Bitcoin was dropping into that time resistance, and following what Carolyn Borden just said a few moments ago, that means the probability was for a reversal in the direction of Bitcoin. And that's what we saw. That's what we saw in that first time period, the first time period between the 15th and 22nd of July. So in other words, guys, what was happening was that this downward trend in Bitcoin hit time resistance, as we know, between the 15th to 22nd of July. And that's what brought about the major push higher, the major rally reversal that we saw some weeks ago. But as you may remember, in my chart of about a few weeks ago, I had a second date. I was showing a second date range between 25th and 27th of July, as you can see there, and as shown to you by this column, that blue column, which again, remember, we knew about these dates before. That's my blue column, as shown to you by the LT time power projection there. And notice that we can see now what that was telling us. That time projection was telling us, look, price was rallying into that blue column. That blue column between the 25th and 27th of July, right there. Notice that blue column right there. And notice exactly what happened there. In fact, let me just turn this into a 4-hour time frame so you can see it. There it is. So in other words, as Carolyn Borden was saying, the way you interpret time resistance is if price is moving, let's say moving up in this case. So if price is moving, let's say higher and upwards into a column of time resistance, all right, into a wall of time resistance, then that time resistance combined with price can act as like a resistance, it's like a wall. And notice that's exactly when Bitcoin formed that intermediate top and started dropping there. Okay, started dropping right after it hit that time resistance. Again, we knew about this time resistance weeks beforehand happened.